Hi everyone, welcome to Sandra's Bible Tales. So Exodus 21 to Exodus 30, I'm not really going to touch much of that. I'm not going to go over that. But there, basically what it is that God is telling Moses, if this circumstance happens, this is what's going to be the outcome. This is how you're going to solve it. Like if there's this issue, this is how you guys are going to solve it. And there's also God telling Moses how he wants the tabernacle, what he expects, that he wants him to make the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant, you're going to hear about that in other stories. The Ark of the Covenant, some of you might have seen, maybe if you visited a church, you might see it looks like a box, a big box, and it has little tubes, ring tubes with two big they look like sticks or something that people carry. And then it has two angels on top of it, like the decoration of two, angels, querubines on top of it. And that's what God called the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant was placed in the Holies of Holies. So the tabernacle, it's composed of it's divided in three different sections. It's the outer courts, the holy place, and the Holy of Holies. And the Holy of Holies, that's a very consecrated place. That's where the Ark of the Covenant was. That's where the presence of God was the strongest. The outer courts, that's where people would go, and that's more like when you were coming into the presence of God. So that's where I guess you would say you would be repenting and you would be asking, and then after the holy place, you're a little bit closer to the presence of God, and then bam, Holies of Holies. I heard a preaching of Benny Hinn, which I loved, and he was talking about how even prayer is that way. When you come before God in prayer, in the beginning it's hard to come before His presence. And Benny Hinn was talking about how sometimes he takes 2 hours before he can get to the Holies of Holies, till the presence of God descends and quickens him. And he was talking about how even in the Bible where it says ask, seek and knock, and he says those are the three different dimensions, and he was comparing it as he said that ask would be the first dimension, the outer courts, and then seek would be the holy place, and then the knocking would be the Holies of Holies, which I thought was really neat. But back to Exodus, the Bible. In Exodus 32, we see that Moses had gone up to the mountain, and he's talking to God, he's having communion with God. And now, because the Israelites saw that Moses was delaying, they tell Aaron that they want Aaron to make them a god that they can see with their eyes, that they can worship. So Aaron says, give me all the gold that you guys have. The gold that God had blessed them with, that the Egyptians had given to the Israelites, now they're getting this gold to sin against God and make a calf. And they start worshiping the calf. But not only do they worship the calf and disobey God when He had already told them that they shall not have any other gods before them and not make any image, but on top of that, they give this thing that they created the glory that God deserves, because they start saying this calf took us out of the land of Egypt. So it's like a slap in the face to God. Now, it says in Exodus 32:7, while God is speaking to Moses, it says, the Lord said to Moses, go down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf and have worshipped it and sacrificed to it, and said, these are the gods of Israel that brought you out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people, like saying, they're rebellious, they're stiff-necked. And he says, now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and that I may destroy them. But I will make of you, Moses, a great nation. And then Moses says, but Moses besought the Lord his God and said, Lord, why does your wrath blaze hot against your people, whom you have brought forth of the land of Egypt, with great power and a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, for evil he brought them forth to slay them in the mountains and consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce wrath and change your mind concerning this evil against your people. So, God is always looking for one person to stand in the gap and intercede. And Moses says to God, he stands on behalf of them. And he says, God, have mercy on them. Why should you give the Egyptians the privilege? Because remember, the Egyptians didn't want to let the Israelites leave. So Moses reminds God, and he says, remember your covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember that you said that you were going to multiply the seed. Why should you give the Egyptians el placer, el gusto, de que they say, oh, look, God took them into the wilderness to kill them. They're not going to understand that. They're not going to understand that it's because the people rebelled against you and they're sinning against you. They're not going to see you, they're going to think evil. And so, it says that then the Lord turned from the evil which he had thought to do to his people. So, God used Moses so that Moses could kind of calm him down. It was God himself using Moses. Now it says in Exodus 32:15, and Moses turned and went from the mountain with the 2 tables of the testimony in his hand, tables or tablets that were written on both sides. The tables were the work of God. The writing was written of God, graven upon the tablets. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, "There is a noise of war in the camp." But Moses said, "It is not the sound of shouting for victory, neither is it the sound of the cry of the defeated, but the sound of singing that I hear." And as soon as he came near to the camp, he saw the calf and the dancing. Now look at Moses. It says, "And Moses' anger blazed hot, and he cast the tablets of his hand and broke them and the foot of the mountain. And he took the calf they had made and burned it in the fire and ground it to powder and scattered it on the water and made the Israelites drink it." So Moses is telling God, "Oh Lord, don't be angry with them." But when Moses sees with his own eyes what God had seen, now he's just as mad, and he breaks the stones, the tablets. And and Moses had a little bit of an anger problem. Okay, those of you who remember, Moses killed the guy that was beating on the other guy. It says, "And Moses said to Aaron, 'What did this people do to you, that you have brought such great sin upon them?' And Aaron said to them, 'Let not your anger, O Lord, blaze hot. You know the people, that they are set on evil.'" So Aaron is saying, "Moses, you know that these people, they're set on their evil ways." And it says, "For they said to me, 'Make us a god,' and so on." And then it says, "And when Moses saw that the people were unruly and unrestrained, then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, 'Whoever is on the Lord's side, let him come to me.' And all the Levites." So, this is like a disaster what had gone on. And then if we continue to Exodus 32:30, it says, "The next day Moses said to the people, 'You have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin.'" And it says in 31, "So Moses returned to the Lord and said, 'Oh, these people have sinned a great sin and have made themselves gods of gold. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray you, out of the book which you have written.' But the Lord said to Moses, 'Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him, not you, out of my book.'" And now it says, now in Exodus 32:35, I'm going to skip some stuff. It says, "And the Lord sent a plague upon the people because they had made the calf which Aaron fashioned for them." So maybe those people have no idea why the plague came. Maybe they say, "Oh my goodness, why this great plague? Oh my goodness, Lord, what is this? What is causing this plague?" But here in the Bible, it's written, the plague came because of the sin that the people committed. So sometimes we have to check ourselves, and we have to see why are things happening around us? Could it be that we have allowed it? Could it be that we did something to offend God, and because of it, this is happening, and this is a result of something that we are either allowing or that our actions caused? Okay. And now in Exodus 32:29, I didn't read this. There's a part where it says, "And Moses said to the Levites, 'By your obedience of God's command, you have consecrated yourself today as priests to the Lord, each man at the cost of being against his own son and his own brother, that the Lord may restore and bestow his blessing upon you this day.'" So Moses is basically saying, some of you that didn't want to worship the calf, you had to be against the family member that did. O sea, there was a division, because some people will want to serve God, and some others will be against you for it. Even your own family sometimes will be against you for it, because you want to consecrate yourself, and you're going to say, "I'm not going to do that." Even if you want to do that, si tú te quieres manchar, if you want to displease God, that's all you, but I'm not going to do it. So Moses is basically like rewarding them and saying, you did good, by doing this and whatnot. So I'm going to stop there. That's in Exodus 32. And then we'll continue next time. Thanks for watching Sandra's Bible Tales. Have a great day.